Welcome to the Legacy Through Land podcast, where we're dedicated to empowering you on your journey to land ownership and management. I'm Tyler Markham, your host, and each week we'll dive deep into the world of land investing, management strategies, and the transformative experiences tied to owning your very own piece of dream dirt. With our expert guests, inspiring stories, and actionable advice, we're committed to helping you become a better land manager, hone your investing skills, and start building your family's legacy through land. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. We hope you'll enjoy.
All right, welcome back to another episode. I don't know what episode number it is, but it's definitely an episode. And as always, I kind of give you guys an update before we get our guests going of what's going on in my world. And I'll be honest, I'm going to put a bunch of notes together, and I promise you, we're going to have a podcast soon that is just me giving a long download of some of the nuances and chaos in my world as a full-time land investor. And I have got some curveballs to throw at you guys as we have been talking through the updates of what's going on in our world and in my world and in the company and just the stuff that goes on weekly. There's been some things developing. There's been some stuff developing, some shifts in plans and just curveballs. And I just, I'll be straight up with you guys. I have just as much of a real and crazy life as you do as a listener. I am not any more special than you or any more gifted or, without issue than you. I've got the same chaos in my own life that, I lean on God to just try and help me make the right decisions and how to navigate the stuff that we talk about. So I'm going to give you a full episode of some curveballs. So that will be coming next. But today, I cannot tell you how excited I have been about getting this podcast set up because it couldn't be better timing that we're going to be talking with Amanda Holbrook, who is Specialized Trust Company. And if you listened to the episode with Will Hancock, Amanda was who we were talking about often in that episode of being the custodian of some of the money that Will was using, working with us in land. And this is IRA self-directed money. So we're going to talk about something today that I would say most people don't realize they have access to, which is how to take your retirement dollars and put them to work in land and real estate and just other, what I would say are non-traditional investment strategies. So let's jump right in. Please do not pull your car over or wreck your car when you hear all of the bangers and all of the deep, pivotal moments that you're going to experience when listening to this podcast. It does not disappoint. Let's go. All right. This is definitely an episode. I don't know what number it is. It is one of my episodes. So Amanda Holbrook and I are going to have some fun today. I cannot wait to get into some of the topics we're going to get into because if you've listened along on this journey of who I've had on as guests, it could not be better timing for us to get Amanda on right after we had Will Hancock, who talked about his IRA investment process and how that has been helpful to him and how he's liked being able to take control. So none better than who he has been connected with, Miss Amanda Holbrook from Specialized Trust Company. Thank you for coming on today.
Oh, thank you, Tyler, for having. Much appreciated. Very flattering intro.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't come up. We're not great friends yet, which we'll fix after this, but I couldn't come up with any kind of dirt on Amanda, so we're just going to have to.
That's okay.
Yeah, we have to keep it
okay.
Professional this whole time. I don't know any cool things to say, but I want you guys to know as listeners and viewers, however you watch this, whatever platform this is, I'm going to admittedly tell you up front, you are probably assuming I know everything that she's about to say, and I'm going to tell you I don't. I know enough to scratch the surface. So what's going to be helpful for you guys to know is I'm benefiting just as much from this conversation as you are as a listener. I have raised money for hundreds of real estate deals. I have been in real estate full time for over a decade. I've done a little bit of a lot, but what I have not done a lot of is what Amanda does. I have done a few deals with investors where they were using self-directed funds or, what I would call cooler money than just a traditional, hey, you've got money sitting in the bank giving you a negligible return. We work together and we can, give you an exponentially better return. This is cooler. Okay, this is cooler stuff. And Will was one of my first people. I had a couple folks that I worked with a couple years ago in the house flip days that also were using IRA funds. So I just want to say that up front, that if you think I'm asking her canned questions that I already know the answers to, and I'm going to take a nap during this, you are sorely mistaken. I can't wait for her to teach me and you as a listener how we can do this. So I wanted to get that out there up front. This is going to be as beneficial for me as you.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited. So here, what we got to go backwards. I always go backwards with my guests. Amanda, how in the world did you get to where you're at? What is your background? What are you allowed to let people know? Starting when you were 2.
Like that. Well, let's rewind. No, I just woke up one day, Tyler, and said, I'm going to do self-directed IRAs. I'm going to be the best.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see that being a organic transition from preschool on. No, I mean, so give us your background for how did you get into the space you're in?
Sure.
And what were some of those stepping stones along the way?
Yeah, it's one of those, in life, everything leads to your next step. Like, you've had a journey like that for sure. So, I mean, how mine started, I was always a freaking, profile me as much as you want. I'm a driver. I'm an overachiever. I'm a DI on the scale. Roar, you profile me all you want. But, knocked out college, 5-year program in 3.5. Went right into Fortune 500. Killed it. Top producer, all that.
What'd you go to college for? I mean, I didn't go, so you already got me beat.
Yeah, no, I went for advertising and business. That's how I went. And if I would have stayed longer, I could have picked up 2 minors. I started doing all those high school college credits that rolled out when I was in high school, aging myself.
I feel you.
I'll tell you a funny one, though. You know what was the class that allowed me to graduate from Kent? Geography of wineries. Guess what we did for geography of wineries?
I have a guess.
It actually did come in handy. I mean, when you're in the business world and you're out at those nice dinners, I could say more than she's got legs,
Oh, that's hilarious. So you can say types of wine. I mean, you got me beat. I heard of Merlot and something one time, but Kent State, Golden Flashes. Golden Flashes.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, man. I know some college football, man. I know some action, so I know what's up at the Kent State.
Oh, I have an 8-year-old that is he's like a walking trivia book right now. He's so into football, basketball, baseball, my just little jock. I love it.
Well,
at least he's reading. I mean, that's one way I can get him to read.
Yeah.
So
he's checking people's draft stock and who's getting NIL money, and yeah. Well, he'll be doing fine when he gets older because he's already kind of ahead of this curve that is rapidly advancing. I feel sorry for my kids. With the advent of AI, I mean, I feel sorry for my kids and what it's going to be like when they get to the level we're at. And,
I'm focus on something that only humans can do. That's kind of my, go with your passion, but something only humans can do.
Yeah, for sure.
And know how to use the tools.
I sidebarred you, and we have so much that I can't wait to cover. I sidebarred you. It's my fault. My life is an eternal sidebar. So college was Kent State, business and administration.
Yeah, so business, whatever. So long story short, graduated, crushed it in corporate. I'm 21 years old, and I'm like, we're going to buy a house. Screw this rent thing.
Okay. I can get behind that.
So literally went and bought a HUD home. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, this is like buying a house on eBay. I had no idea what I was doing.
That's
fair. So that was the bug that bit me, learn bumps, bruises through that experience, so fast forward, picked up my license. I'm figuring out investing. I got into the finance side. There's a big company that came into Cleveland. So I'm like, I'm going to learn this. You know what time that was? The heyday before the mortgage meltdown. So I was seeing stuff whoa.
I'm guessing 05, 06 type.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, this is not okay, but like, this is not sustainable. Anyway, so that crash happened, and I worked with mainly investors, Tyler, because they get the math, right? It's like, it doesn't take long. So, for those of you that weren't investing at that time, you went from having like a bajillion products that you can buy properties with down to zero, because banks would not lend on a non-owner occupied property. And then they were clawing back the ones that they lent on, hence the meltdown, So I figured out this whole peer-to-peer lending thing through self-directed IRAs.
Okay.
I waltz into an interview, I'm all calm, cool, confident, in my 20s, like, got this.
So, and are you employed at this place? You're crushing it, the corporate company, Fortune. Okay, you're still employed there.
Yeah. So I pivoted to a finance place, but still like
happens.
Fortune 500, that piece of it. So yeah, I walked in, so I'm like, well, this isn't, obviously going to be thriving for our household for much longer. But yeah, I walk in there, and the person staring across the table from me was my friend from St. Peter's in grade school, which you know him as Keith Marsh.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of my partners here at Specialized Trust. So yeah, I was like, well, I got this in the bag. Just totally dove in. You guys will learn soon. I'm a big nerd. So I made myself a super expert, and I started traveling around, standing on stages, talking about tax-free profits in your IRA. I'm like 25,
like, I already love this. I love this. You've been in this a while.
Yeah. So it's not my first rodeo, so just fast forward, I was in the investment space. I've drank my own Kool-Aid. Keith, Edwin, kind of had the experience of got too corporate. I'll just leave it at that. And that was the entrepreneurial spark that started our firm. Knock at the door. Holbrook, you want in? Yes, absolutely. So like, here we are. And we all came from that investor mindset. So I want to share that, because I think that's important. You have your money where your mouth is. You actually do what you teach others to do. Like, I hate that saying of like, if you can't do, teach, because yes, we've seen that,
She said it, not me.
She
said it, not me.
Sorry, I'm allowed because, how we're regulated, y'all. We're a passive custodian. We don't recommend or endorse. These are a sponsor. We're not attorneys, not CPAs. I don't sell investments. I cannot. They will take our license. So I can be as blunt as I want. Because you know what?
That was like stipulations in Ricky Bobby Inc.
IRS says you need us.
Yes. So you're a what are they back in the pandemic? They call it what do they call those employees that were necessary? They call I know, I can't even think of it. The people
I can't think of it either.
Frontline workers that were necessary.
Yeah, like we didn't take time off during COVID. If anything, we were like, if you can access your 401k, they upped the 401k loans to 100,000. All of like my airline pilots that were furloughed, I'm like, roll your money out of there. This is like the one window you can move your money. Like, flashing lights.
But wear a mask while you're doing it, okay? Wear a mask. So I digress. So this is amazing, Amanda. I've always told people that I'm very unemployable, very, very unemployable. I am an entrepreneur through and through. Like, I can't work for someone. But it sounds like so far you're pretty unemployable, and they got you to come in. I like this.
I'm a hybrid. HR doesnh like me.
Yeah. Hey.
But you know what? I take that back. How I operate, we're just very blunt. Matter of fact, treat other people how they want to be treated. And we expect those to reciprocate. Yeah. Have grit, have passion, come ready to, move mountains. And that you'll get that in return. So it takes, and we're not going to get into this conversation, but I feel like the talent pool that is shrinking with that like internal born on grit. I don't know. I'm not even going to go down that route. No, but that's how we operate.
It's true. Yep. No, it's true. And we were, offline, we were talking about Braden. It's a great example of he's in that Gen Z bracket or whatever the bracket is below that, and I think fewer and fewer of them have grit. fewer and fewer of them have grit to just push forward. And if there's anything I'm trying to teach him through our process of working together, it's that. You just said it. It's grit. It's like, no, dude, there is not a secret success path that isn't hard. It doesn't exist. You will waste years of your life searching for it.
Yep.
You will waste years. If somebody sends you a reel and it says, how to make $40K a week from home and be a stay-at-home mom, it's probably not real or sustainable, and people we're still biting on that stuff. Like we're still doing it now. Backstep here. If you're making money from home as a stay-at-home mom or dad, and it's legit, those also exist. Disclaimer. But the ones that are like, hey, just buy flowers at a flower shop, put them on a piece of wood, and then sell them on Canva. Sell 10 of them a week, and you'll make $10,000 a month. Like that. I'm like, yeah, it's not super sustainable though. Like that's probably not going to create a legacy for your family.
Math ain't mathin'.
Yeah,
That's what I like to say.
Yeah. So I want to at the 10,000-foot view, Amanda. What do you do? What do you do? Tell us. What's your elevator pitch?
Yeah. So my elevator pitch, I help folks retire with the tools of self-directed accounts by investing in what they know. Yeah, and creating generational tax-free wealth. Like that is just to keep it plain and simple. It probably brings more questions than answers, but in a nutshell, that is exactly what I do.
So who are you a competitor of in the like?
I'm not going to list my competitors on
No,
here.
no. I don't mean a company. I don't mean that. I mean an avatar. Who doesn't like that you could exist?
Okay, so I will say this one. Okay, here's who doesn't like. And our environment as far as self-directed arena is small.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean because our
true competitor though is, and because every one of you listening on here, I'm sure you have a financial advisor or a professional that you've worked with at some way, shape, or form at some point on your journey. Okay, and I will tell you, because in our accounts, you can invest in what you know. I'm not joking. It's not just stocks, bonds, mutual funds. It is land. It is real estate. It's oil and gas. If you breed alpacas, if you want mineral rights, gold, all of these things you can do inside your retirement account. We are not born stockbrokers. But have you heard about it?
Right.
No. Why? Why haven't you heard about it? Because Tyler, I don't know, you even know this. This has been around since the 70s. This is nothing new.
Well, that's why I wanted to open the space of who is a competitor to, and it's not a person, it's an avatar. You're saying financial planners, financial advisors, run of the mill.
So I do have some private financial advisors, which if you're a private financial advisor, you can sell what's on your screen as well as you can recommend things off your screen. Okay, so you can recommend non-traditional stuff. But if you are at a traditional brokerage house, so just the big ones, guys, the Fidelities, the Schwabs, the Edward Jones, and I don't mean to pick on them by name, but just so you have an idea. Right. Those financial advisors are stuck with what is on their screen, and that's all they can sell you or invest you in. Or they'll pat you on the back and say, you pick it yourself, buddy. Attaboy.
As long as it's in this box.
And they'll call it self-direction. That just peeves me because my advertising background comes in. I'm like, dude, that is false advertising. That is not the definition of self-direction.
I'm ready to fight somebody right now, and I don't even know who we're fighting, so I'm with you.
Yeah, it's your traditional advisor at those houses that will say, if you go to them and say, oh, well, I'm thinking of buying land in my retirement account or being a private money lender, they're going to say, whoa, pump the brakes. That is the worst idea ever. It's so risky. And why do you think? Let's all pause. Put yourself in their shoes. Why are they telling you that? What's in it for them with them, right? They only get paid on what is with them, right? So and some are more open-minded. I don't mean to paint a whole industry, but traditionally.
Oh, I will. It's fine.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, it's fine.
Hey, I have never had a 401k because I've never been employed long enough by someone else who would offer that. So I don't even count. It's fine. I can pick one.
And if you're self-employed, we'll do the solo K.
Okay,
your self-employed
let's go.
plans. And then you can invest in what you know. You're not even stuck. You don't even have to talk to those guys. But that's it, and the screwed up part, Tyler, if they tell someone to invest in something off of their platform, they could lose their license. It's called selling away. It's horrible, but you don't know unless you're in this world, so it's just arming yourself with education. It's the same way you have to do it with your health. It's the same way you have to do it with your financial professionals. Arm yourself with information. We are in the world of information where it's all on your fingertips, and it's not all great. I mean, we've seen some crap info out there too. And even, AI, it's not always 100% accurate either. Remember, it's like a pleasing model. But do your homework. Do you know when people find out about this? And you've experienced this too.
At the end.
Yeah. At the end.
58 and a half. Or, whatever it is. And they
have pain, right? Man, I was retired. Excuse my language. But I'm retired.
Go with it.
And I don't have
because they're saying the same thing.
Yeah, what am I going to do if I leave this in the stock market? My guy's telling me be more conservative. Well, that doesn't hedge inflation, so I'm just going broke slowly. What do we do? That anxiety, that pressure on the shoulders is real. And when you're not given an opportunity other than weather the storm, it's cyclical. It'll correct itself in time. That's all BS, right? Yep. That is not an acceptable answer. That's not a strategy. Buy, hold, hope, and pray. I'm as religious as the next person, but that's not financial strategy. That is not guaranteeing retirement or legacy planning. That is, you're guessing, you're hoping, educating, guessing, and praying and holding. And that's not it. I will say, because you're kind of trying to think of the avatar, when they find out about it. And then the number one feedback reaction after someone has the epiphany of oh my gosh, how am I just learning about this? My guy or gal never told me. And like I said, those instances, it's pain. It's either
and we've golfed together. He's been to my kids' birthday parties.
How come you never told me about this?
Because they couldn't.
And it's just they're either excited, or they're pissed off. But either way, they're motivated.
I was going to say, it lands at the same emotional state.
Yes. Either way, they're motivated. You're ready to, how can I, and it's diversification, guys. How can you make a move? And that part of it is super simple. That's what we specialize in. The moving part's simple.
Wait, you're not giving the goods yet. Wait, Amanda, hold up. Don't just tell them how simple it is. Make this sound hard for a second.
Okay,
give us some hype. So, what type of clients typically come to you? And you've kind of already answered this, but what type of clients typically would come to you?
Yeah, so it's someone that is looking for diversification or a better way. Okay, so if I were to paint an avatar, because there's no real age demographic, okay? So that's where I was going with that.
Okay.
You would think it's somebody that's just closer to retirement. Your average 35-year-old has 3 abandoned 401ks by that time. If they go the corporate route, and the average, and I'm sure this value may have fluctuated, is about $150K in that account. So,
sheesh.
Right? So am I shifting your
thought
process? So if you're looking at raising capital, don't always skew high in the age bracket. Usually these folks, they're successful professionals, blue collar and white collar. A lot of times dual income household. They're either full-time W-2'd, successful in either of those categories. A lot of times they have their side hustles too. Yep. They have side hustle LLCs. They have a couple rental properties. They're selling flowers on a board on Etsy, something.
I mean, it's fun. Okay. Sell your flowers. Sorry. Sell your digital product off Canva.
I get it. But that right there is, or the second avatar is your full-blown entrepreneur. To your point, I've never been employable. I don't have a 401k.
If you make me punch a clock, if you offer me $500,000 a year, but I have to physically punch a clock, out. I'm out.
No.
The sound of it makes me want to puke. Just the
twitch a little.
Well, I mean, I'm like, this is a prison, and they just haven't told you. You think it's not, but it is a prison. So anyway, I digress.
There's self-employed 401ks, SEPs and Simples, where you can put 25% of your earnings up to $70,000 a year, and then you're not stuck in the stock market. You can invest it how you know. But
so
to your point, that conversation doesn't come up when you're an entrepreneur because you're so worried about your active business. You're working on the business, in the 100%. Business. Like that, like chapter 5 planning. You never even get to chapter 5 of the Darren planning book because you're still on chapter 1, building the mountain. And then it's, the market shift. So now I got to go from single family to multifamily, or I got to pivot to land, so you're still, building the machine, to fill the coffers over here that'll spill over into, what you're going to call retirement and legacy.
Man, so you're now I'm getting my own personal advice, which is exactly why I said I'm going to benefit as much from this as you guys listening. All right. I want to really quickly back up to a second of so we've talked a little bit about the avatar. Now we've talked about that these folks, when you say someone has been employed in 3 different places, if we continue to use the same avatar, my question is, what is a self-directed IRA, 401k? When does it become self-directable? Kind of just unpack those layers there.
Okay. So let me take everybody from macro to micro. Okay. When you log in those big bank accounts, those types of accounts, when you log into your portals, right, and you see, they have traditional, they have Roth, they have SEPs, they have health savings accounts, inherited, 401ks, blah, 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 blah. All of those accounts are the same type of accounts we have here at Specialized Trust. Retirement account. Same revenue code, like the IRS code that governs these guys, governs over here. So same rules, okay? So here's the lane. Over here, though, they narrow that lane and just let you do stocks, bonds, mutual funds.
And then you mean a 401k or something that's promulgated by
at the traditional institutions. So like your big banks, your Fidelities, Vanguards of the world, right? They'll say, pick your stock, bond, mutual fund yourself, and off you go. That's what they call self-direction.
Make sure at the top I'm staying the same ideology here. When you become employed by a company, a larger company that offers these fringe benefits of employment, which is 401k match, or, and I don't even know all the jargon, but when they offer these fringe benefits, they, at the top of your macro, they have, I'm assuming, pre-set up, we're with Vanguard, we're with Edward Jones, we're with Schwab, whatever. And you're saying as the the employee, the person, they only get to choose with what has already been pre-set up when they took the job offering at said institution.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
So at the top of the box, that's it. They can't pick outside of what the employer picked. Whatever the employer picked.
That's it. Or what that platform provides, Tyler. Like they can turn that dial. Do you want to be conservative, moderately risky, or risky? And it'll just auto pick for them. Like that's a common one too.
And still within that box though. Just still within
the box.
That threshold.
Just bing, 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 all in the box still. Okay. What we do over here is instead of that little sandbox of toys, we give you the whole playground.
We give you the whole scope of land.
Yeah, through that. I'm going on the monkey bars right now. I'm joking.
Okay.
But that's, you get to invest in what you know, right? So same accounts, same contribution limits, distribution rules, blah, 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 blah. But you can invest in a piece of land. You can invest in a rental property in your backyard. Your buddy is starting up a tech company. That's a private company. Can you lend money to them as a private money lender? Could you own ownership of their private LLC? Yes. I mean, Google Peter Thiel example, and you'll see like probably the most popular publicized example of, owning parts of a private company. Being the bank, and Tyler, we've talked about this one. As an investor, would you rather pay money and interest to a bank or to a private lender?
A private lender all day.
All day, And
I tell my sellers this even, hey, I've got to pay someone. I'd rather pay you. If the seller wants to be that. And then when I sell their property, I'll tell them, do you want the money back or do you want it to keep making money? I'm always trying to turn them into the investor because I see the benefit of them making money.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always put this for those of you that haven't been a savvy, investor, right? You feel like, I don't know this stuff. Well, newsflash, okay? You live in a house that has 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor. That's real estate. And guess what that real estate is fixed on? Land. Guess what they're not making more of out there? They're building houses, but there's a housing shortage. That's where I think you've got a total in there. But my point is,
send me your PayPal. I'll send you the money later. She basically said invest with, anyway, she didn't say it.
No, my point is, when you're looking at something that's tangible, fixed, consistent, predictable income, whether it's the property or you're being the bank, you're lending. Like, you guys remember Monopoly, right? That red promissory note. That's what it is. I'm going to lend you money. You're going to promise me to pay it back, but I'm not just going to take your word for it. I'm going to make you pony up some collateral, just like a bank does. Doesn't this sound familiar for those of you that have a mortgage? What's your worst case scenario? If you're the bank on a property and the borrower doesn't pay, what does a bank do?
They take it back.
They take it back. If your IRA is the lender, guess what your IRA does? They take it back. So literally what I just told you is worst case scenario, hitting the fan, okay? Total meltdown mode. Worst case scenario, you're going to end up with a piece of property or land that is worth more than what you lent on.
Yep. Yeah. And we're all going to say, assuming you go with the right qualified investor, or you go with someone who actually helps you vet the deal. Amanda is telling you, if I'm bringing someone something and we use any of our own deals, of course, I'm not ever partnering with someone as an investor. I'm never partnering on a deal that has no equity. Never. Because number one, I don't buy with no equity. I'm buying with equity day one.
Absolutely. And that's trust but verify, right?
Right.
Like I always tell people, think of the bank. If you've gotten a mortgage before, it was not like an easy breezy lemon squeezy process, right? You had to fill out a lot of paperwork. You had to show all your taxes, blah, 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 right? Trust but verify. Like that's literally it. And that's what you just said. But that's what you're doing with your expertise, even on the acquisition side.
Right.
So that's where in our world, I get the question a lot, Tyler. It's like, how do you find the deals? Because it's self-directed. Let me be clear, you guys. This is not a done for you retirement account. It's self-directed. That means it's on you, right? Like you the boss. Right. You get to say. But
it's not self-promulgated or built. Someone has to find the deal.
Say what you're going to invest in, what you're not. Obviously, we'll give you the parameters of what the IRS gives you, but then your Pandora's box is open. So that's where, it's the who, not the how. And that's where, because
you are the how. Truly, in this equation, I wish you guys could realize how much learning it took on my end as the person receiving benefit from an investor. She was the entire how, right? I was the who of just let me know when you guys are ready. She was the how, and everything was worked. There was so much through that process that. My partners think I had a ton to do with, and how thankful they are. And I'm like, yeah, man.
We'll make you look like a rock star, but but literally, guys, it's an education process. It's
about
right?
who you know. So if you're about ready to pull your car over because Amanda's got you so mad, you're on the way to work. We did not intend to make you this mad 29 minutes into this potty, okay? We did not intend to make you mad. This is to help you. Don't pull the car over in Columbus right now and call your boss and yell at him. This is not what that's meant for. This is helping empower you on what could we do. So we're talking self-directed IRA, 401k. Say these again, because you say all these so eloquently. What is self-directable, or however you would say it? Okay. What can Amanda play ball with?
All right. So if you're listening here, here's your inventory sheet. And I'll put some info in the show notes so I can give you some cheat sheets on this stuff. Okay. So if you have an old employer's plan, regardless of where you worked, okay, if it's your old 401k, a TSP, and that's the government's version of a 401k, a thrift savings plan. So thank you for your service if you have one. 403Bs, 457s, and I can go on with the numbers and the acronyms just to sum it up. Old employers and plan where you're no longer there. Think, cha-ching, like I can move those funds. Any type of IRA. IRAs are personal. Everyone always asks this, like what makes an IRA versus like a business plan? You have a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
You have some earned income. You have a social security number. You qualify for an IRA. Okay. So anyone can have an IRA. So IRAs anywhere you can move. I'll give you this caveat because I get this one. To your point, you were painting the avatar of like, hey, I'm in I'm at work and I have a 401k and it's
And now I have
there.
questions.
I'm not 59 and a half. But this is like, I've been at the same company for 20 years. Like, and I can't move my money. That happens. What we're going to do is we're going to call your provider and we're going to ask if they do an in-service rollover. And it's about a 50-50 shot, guys. But some 401ks, because they're not all made the same, will allow you to roll your vested balance or a percentage of while still being employed under 59 and a half. If you're 59 and a half, y'all, you've turned 21 all over again. You can move that money wherever you wish.
You can smoke a cigarette.
You're the ultimate boss. Like, everyone's like, oh, we're celebrating the 60th. No, we celebrate the 59 and a half over here.
Yeah. So if they're 59 and a half, let's say, and this is just so much learning for me. If they're still working somewhere, but they're 59 and a half, at that point, does any 401k ever in any other world that become self-directable at that point?
You can roll it out at any time.
Oh, because you're saying because they're just rolling it out without penalty because they've hit 59 and a half, then they can
Correct.
put it wherever they want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we're talking rollout and transfer, et cetera, guys, you're just moving from one tax sheltered parking garage to another. So there's no taxable events happening on my watch. You're just moving it from where like you're buy, hold, hoping and praying to over here where you're the boss.
And I want to tickle their ears, and then we're going to keep going on what does this actually mean. So let's say someone comes to me or they come to you, Amanda, and say, I have some stuff, but I don't know, because this is what I think is the very, very accurate avatar right now is, all right, I have some stuff, but I still don't know. Can Amanda help them vet if their stuff can qualify?
Yes, absolutely. That's part of the whole process. Just like when Will came over, it's not like a, hey, here it is. You want to do this or not? Right. It's very much figuring out how do you have income coming in? Where are your accounts at? Is this current employer, old employer? And it's just taking kind of inventory and identifying, I always say buckets, not a professional financial term, but identifying what you can control. So now of your portfolio pie, what you can move and what you can't. And then it's up to you to decide, well, I'm going to move all of it. I'm going to move some of it. You're the boss at that point, but I take a very like holistic consultative approach there, and we look a lot beyond just, you, right? Because typically, like I named our avatar for you. Typically you're married, you have kiddos. Are you self-employed? Do you pay your kids? Do you have savings accounts for your kids? Like these are all things that you have to zoom
Those are
out.
all the buckets, though. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good word because they are all the financial buckets that could exist in someone's box. Their own box is their own bucket. So I wanted to mention that just because if you're like me listening to this and like it's all empowering, but now you have all these questions of what if.
Yeah.
Amanda, I'm obviously not suggesting she would vet 100 of you tomorrow, but if someone's interested enough to know, hey, I have stuff and this really intrigues me so far, they can reach out to you and you could help do an assessment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll put a link to my calendar here in the show notes. So
Amazing.
That's always my gift. If you're going to sit here and listen to us yammer about this topic, which I hope we're making interesting, I will gift back that time to you, to go deep dive into your scenario.
And I mean, this is only not interesting if you just don't have any of these funds or you don't have any idea or, of what this is. I just literally visualize like a set of handcuffs and somebody gives this person money, and says, hey, we'll give you this money and we'll match it. We'll help you grow it. But you're going to always have this handcuff on your other hand. You will always have it until you get so old and the chain between the two will rot and then you can take it out. Cool. And you're saying, what if? Like you're saying, what if not? What if we didn't do that? And so I know literally I have friends that I'm thinking of right now that I know have been gainfully employed that are engineers and people that have had multiple jobs, like you just said, that I promise they've never had a second thought to, wait a second, the money that I earned at first job when I was 21, that I was there till I was 28, and then that company went under, and then I'm now at this company. You're saying that I probably have idle funds. So I want to ask another question. If this is that avatar, what happened likely to those idle funds? We're going down so many roads, but I'm just so curious. What happened to those funds if this person didn't say anything?
Disappear. They either sit in that 401k, and they're still in the market. a lot of times some of you may have say like, oh, well, mine's not a traditional IRA. It's a rollover IRA where that company that holds it forces it into an IRA. It just means it was once upon a time a 401k. All of those you can roll. I'm going to tell you this, Chip, because they don't share this one with you. When you switch jobs, if your HR is savvy, they're going to advise you to say, take your old 401k and move it into the new one. And if you've done that and you're like, oh, crap, that was a total misstep. Those funds that you rolled into the new one weren't from your current employer. You can still roll those back out.
Shut the podcast down, everybody. Pull the car over. If you call now, but wait, there's more. If you call now, we're not even done yet. You thought you were mad now. Just wait. All right. So give us, and I'm just having so much fun with this. And I know why I am is because and we talked about this offline. Amanda's an investor, and you guys hear me say a lot, like I'm not a guru. I'm a duru. I do this stuff. And Amanda, before we got on here was telling me like, and she said it now, like she has been an investor. She was an investor first. That's what opened her eyes to the space. And so I'm always weary and careful of who do I take advice from? And we talked earlier, if you can't teach. And I see so many people getting to that space where they can't really they couldn't hit the next level or they couldn't really stack the blocks. So they just start coaching. They just magically. Months before they're going, totally under and bankrupt and all the LLCs are a failure. Now they've got a coaching program. It's amazing. So be careful. But Amanda, you're a guru that opened this space up in your brain to say, hey, how do we help people do what we were already asking, the same kinds of questions. So with that, could you give me a few, you mentioned a few earlier, but like a few creative or real life examples of what someone has creatively done with their funds when they move them over to you?
Sure.
You said gold and alpacas. Huh? Don't tell my daughter about the alpaca thing, okay? Because this is her and her best friend have told us for like years now they're going to have a llama farm. So don't push land, that super hard.
So I will get to that question. So, but with land, just like with real estate, whether it's single family or commercial, like rentals, how you make them more cash flow savvy is you have those bolt on, they call them value adds, right? Like coin laundry, like all of that, facilities, blah, 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 blah. But with land, you can get so creative. You can.
Oh, you can?
Lease for hunting. You do the crops. You can do, a row of your like container tiny homes and, right by that fishing pond, but there's so much cool stuff that you can do. I just want you to think, and I'm very creative, artistic, like I just think of that as just a blank canvas, so I promise I won't tell your kiddos about the alpacas.
I mean, you can, just don't tell them dad said he would, contribute the land. Like I'm not cleaning up after the llamas yet, but if you're a listener and you want to have an alpaca farm, I did buy a farm from an alpaca guy. So, your joke.
I will say that. But the last time I took my kids to an alpaca farm, I'm short, guys. I'm 5'1". I got spit on, like, right here in the face. It was right here. I'm like, oh, he's so cute. And another alpaca jumped on that guy. And, in the hair, down the shirt. I had to buy a souvenir shirt. And I walked in the souvenir shop like this, like.
That probably happens a lot.
Oh, I'm sure that's why they have apparel.
Right.
They don't train them. I don't think that's possible, but.
So, but what are you mentioned some really cool ones. So rattle some stuff off that you've seen people do.
So here's some cool. So I want to talk about like structure. Okay, because this is one, I just did a great one for a bunch of parents. Okay, and this is a hot topic. This has been a hot topic because Trump just came out with this, traditional IRA for kids, right? That they don't need the earned income for, etc. But a traditional IRA is like kicking the tax can down the road. He didn't do it for Roths though. And you know this because you've heard me say, okay, for those of you listening, a Roth is you pay the tax on the seed and not the crop. Okay, so the money you put in, it grows tax-free forever. Right. So when your kids take that money out, it's tax-free. When you leave it to your kids, it's tax-free. They can use it for, your contributions can come out at any time, just the earnings stay. They can use it for down payment on their first home, tuition for college. Like Roths for kids is by far the best vehicle that exists out there. Okay.
And just break down what you said with paying on the seed, not the crop. Okay. So it's taxable when it goes in is what you're saying.
Yeah. So when you get money in your pocket today, all right, Uncle Sam gets a piece of your pie while it's itty bitty. So you can put $7,000 a year. So you've already paid Uncle Sam his piece of $7K. All right. You pop that into a Roth and it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow. Let's fast forward to 59 and a half. Let's say it's a cool $7 million. And you wake up at 59 and a half, because that's when we celebrate, right? And you say, screw this. I'm going to take it all out in one time. Both of you are like, oh, no one would ever do that. But you know what? You don't pay a dime in taxes on any of it. So pay the tax on the seed.
And it's $7 a year you can put in. And this is per
right now
kiddo.
It's $7,000 per kiddo.
Yeah.
So as
I'm not advocating to have more kids, okay? I'm just saying, if your tax bracket gets higher, just,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought up tax bracket, because guess what? I know taxes? I'm talking tax free, but my pom-poms, which they're at my home office, not here, but they say team keep it.
Okay. I knew I liked you. I always knew I liked you.
It's like not about what you make, it's what you keep. Well, when you pay your kids 1099 or W-2 or even like a 1099, does that help or hurt their bottom line return on your company?
It depends.
It lowers it because you're paying cost of labor, right? So your bottom line, obviously they're producing for you, so I know where your dependence comes from.
Right.
But hey, if I'm paying my kids $7K, which you can actually pay them, it's right at I think $15K this year. So if you got 2 kids, that's an additional $30,000 that you can reduce your taxes on your company. That's huge. And I'm all for child labor. I'm all for child labor. I kid. But yes, like literally.
Pun intended, but I'm with
I could show you. Oh, that's such an evil looking picture of my son.
Hey, I'm all for child labor too. Actually, and Amanda, we could go on this other sidebar, but I am all for, we just talked about like raising up the next generation. And that's the only way to me, like you can do it. And so I am all for hard work and having my kids be inside of what I do.
Make them earn it, right? Make them earn it. So then when you go on the vacations and you do the fun things, they enjoy it that much more.
Yep.
And you don't feel like you're raising like spoiled brats. Because obviously we want our kids to do better than what we've done and experience the things that we didn't get to. That's just ingrained in us as parents. But here is my point, bringing it full circle. You pop, funds in those buckets, right? Because the more buckets you have, that's how you keep more of what you make. Period. I don't know what financial gurus you listen to, but the math isn't that hard. The more buckets you have, the more you can put away, the more you can keep. And then I can show you when you can access it. Okay. But how old are your kiddos?
I have 11, 9, and 3.
Okay. So, you've got a spread there.
That's another podcast, but yeah, 11, 9, and 3.
But so you could take, their Roths, your Roth, your wife's Roth. Okay, so 5 accounts. Is it realistic for you to do a deal in each of these?
Yeah.
For you, it is.
Sorry.
Investor, probably not.
Right.
Like it becomes so segmented, right? Like, oh, well, I'm saving these things. I'm adulting. I'm checking the box. How do I get it growing? How would you do if you had 5 investors on a deal? What do you do?
For me?
If you have 5 investors that want to go on a deal together, what do you do? What's the word?
Syndicate.
You syndicate because you think bigger, but you would just partner. Like if someone came up to you and said, hey, we want to go do this deal together, or, you've got a group of buddies from your hunt club that are like, we want to invest with Tyler, they can all partner together. Your kids' accounts can partner together with yours. So although they're not doing a whole land deal in their IRA with $7,000, okay? But if you partner them together with the other accounts, now you got a bigger pot, right? And you can structure that where it's partnered right on the asset itself. Yep. So like a private note. My 401k might have 80% and Colton and Aubrey have 10 each, equaling 100. Or you can form an LLC where everybody's Roth is a partner.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the types of deal structures that I've seen that have been game changers. Because when you figure out not only the key to your own retirement, but the key to like the generational piece, that's like, like when I learned
100%.
about, I mean, how old are you?
36.
36. Oh, you're younger than me. But
I don't know. I mean,
I'm not saying how old I am. I'll let y'all guess.
37, guys.
But for like, I mean, you were 90s, 2000s.
Yep.
The Roth's only been around since the late 90s. So it's not that old. The Roth.
I remember hearing about Roth in Cutco knives. Do you know about Cutco knives? I used to sell Cutco knives as a teenager. And they had this big conference. It was, literally 100%. And they had this big conference, like motivational rah-rah. And this guy gets up and he starts speaking about this ROTH. And, all of us like 19-year-olds are like, what is even happening? What are we even doing? But I will never forget, Amanda. I'll never forget. And you're reiterating it now. He was trying to teach us at 19 what we should be knowing. He was trying to teach us what you're talking about now. He's trying to show us what it could be if we would put money aside at that age. I mean, I'll never forget it. I knew enough to know, like, this dude's talking about something that we should all listen to because it's compounding and it's insane. And it was like, and now, well, that's why. That's why they were trying to teach you sound financial advice as salespeople. Anyway, carry on. That was the first time I heard about Roth, though. 19 years old.
You're always chasing that commission check. I mean, can you imagine in today's age a bunch of 19-year-olds door knocking in your neighborhood saying, buy my knives?
Well, I see it, and it's usually window washing or power washing or whatever, and I'm usually like, I'm out, dude. But I always
treatment.
I shake their hand and I take their number. I'm always like, dude, for you to be able to do this, if you can crush it, keep a hold of me, And it's funny, they'll like message me the next day, like, are you serious? Like, no, I am serious. Keep doing what you're doing though. Like, I'm not hiring you today. Keep doing what you're doing.
I've given him my Blink card for sure. Like, I had a gal come up one time and she was gorgeous and super personable. And usually it's like a young dude, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you, I'm like, how did you get into this?
Yeah.
But it just doesn't seem like this would be your first choice.
And that's someone like you, someone that you could lean into because they already show enough drive. That's what I always see in it.
Yes,
if you're going to come knock on my door, tell me why you should wash my windows. You're the third dude this year to tell me this. Like, you got to be able to take some L's. Like, you've got to. You've got to.
You're thick-skinned.
Yep. I think that was sidebar 5, so keep going.
Okay, I'm going to keep going. All right. So the Roth IRA are like, cool deal structures. Okay. Partnering. Okay.
Yeah.
When you can partner those deals together, like, that is just, exponential growth. Like, I literally just had a gentleman, I actually met him in Columbus. We met in May. Okay. Taught him about this. He's got Coverdell education accounts and Roths for his kids. Solo K for him. He's doing a wholesale deal in his kids' Coverdell educational account because they go to Catholic school and it's, tuition varies, if your kids go to private school.
Yep.
He's getting a $58,000 assignment fee in that education account.
Yeah.
What he learned 3 months ago. So that is that's the win. Like, oh my gosh, they just took that huge tuition bill out of their active income and they have a tax-free account paying for it just by sourcing a deal in that account. Like, that is the power of these. And that
it didn't matter how much credit he had. It didn't matter
DTI,
any of the traditional things.
None of that mattered. And this wasn't, like, he had gotten into real estate 3 years ago. So it's not like, he's trained and has alphabet behind his name and is a financial advisor and Series 6, 7s and blah, 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 blah. No, like, he's your average dad that said when his kids were born, I'm going to be unemployable, be my own boss, right?
Yep.
Like, that's what he did. And so many of you on here are doing just that, or you have your side hustle doing that.
Yeah.
So these different accounts, I want you to think of them as like tax sheltered or tax-free operating accounts. And you're just sourcing, other opportunities, whether it be, land, wholesale, whatever your GM is, you can do them right inside.
So let's keep, because you guys are probably, your mind is like, all right, I'm irritable, I'm excited, I'm like all the emotions right now. as if there wasn't more, I want to keep expanding on, all right, what do we do with this, Amanda? Can someone, and I told Amanda before we got on here, like, we don't have to make this all about land. Yes, you guys are listening to the Legacy Through Land podcast. Yeah, I could make a strong argument for why I think land is what starts all great legacies. I can make that argument, but it doesn't mean that's the only trick, right? I'm not naive enough to know that's the only trick to generational wealth, but using land as our avatar so that we can talk openly here. Can someone use a self-directed IRA to buy land?
Yes.
For their own use, or let's get into the weeds here of what are some of the do nots.
Okay. IRS does not say, here are all the lovely ways you can take advantage of the tax code. They give you the no-nos. So I don't want you guys to think I'm a negative Nancy here, but I'm going to give you like your bumper bowling. Okay.
Don't skip past this, folks.
Don't skip. Okay. Number 1, to your point, personal use, no self-dealing. Okay. So if
no
you
personal
have,
use, no self-dealing.
Yeah,
How do we do that?
Tyler's got this great like chunk of land. He's like, man, I would love to make it so all the profits on this deal are tax-free. I'm just going to buy it for myself. Wrong. You cannot do that. That is self-dealing.
Okay.
Lending to yourself, self-dealing. Okay. So it's a retirement account. When does the government want you to benefit from a retirement account?
That graduation 59 and a hat.
Yes, 59 and a half. Okay. Number 2, who you do business with. Okay. And think of this as like buying something they own or lending to them. Okay. Remember doing the family tree exercise in school? I'm pretty sure all of us did that at some point.
Yep.
The trunk, you, your spouse, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, off limits.
Okay.
So you couldn't buy land and then lease it out to your father. Okay. You could not, a piece of land your grandparents own, could you buy it in your retirement account or your kids? No. Okay, because they're up and down. Now, if they're a branch, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, fair game.
Whoa.
So if your brother inherited a piece of land and he doesn't really want that land, that's not his jam, and you want to buy that piece of land from your brother in your IRA, you can do that.
Wow, man, family trunk is real about the meat of the tree here, because I would call brother sister a branch. So goodness, Amanda, now my mind's blown. All right, let's paint a scenario, because I'm just thinking crazy here. Let's paint a scenario. Because by the way, everybody, I always look at rules as suggestions. But I think in this example, Amanda would tell us, don't look at it that way. T-dog. So, yeah, she's like, I would not advise you to do it that way.
My eyes are very big if you're not watching.
Yeah. So hypothetically speaking, we were to listen, Amanda. All right, real talk. This is what I'm trying to understand. All right, let's say, and I'm going to make a real life example that I know of. Not my family, but a family. Mother wills the farm to the brother. Mother to the son. Sorry, mother. Yeah, her son. She wills the farm, puts it in her will that he gets the farm. Sister gets nothing. She gets other stuff, personal property, whatever. But she doesn't get the farm. She wants to buy the farm from brother. He got the farm. It was willed to him. Can she buy the farm from her brother on the
After
IRA?
he takes title to it, yep. And then all of the profits from the farm are therefore tax sheltered.
All right, I got to talk some fun here. I know this is obviously being recorded, but how does this pass the sniff test, Amanda?
Because it's just the branches. That's the rules. Everyone always asks me, why is that? I don't know. This is just the rules. It's IRC 4975. Look it up.
So the point of all this, my takeaway now, listening, folks, get along with your brothers and sisters, okay? They don't have to be because you love,
Be nice to your aunts and uncles.
Be nice to your aunts and uncles. Gosh, that's amazing.
You got cousin friends. I know, and I don't know. I feel like this is a big Ohio thing, but a lot of my Ohio friends, we have like cousin friends. Like when we all get together for just like, hey, a quick family get together, or we're all getting together, watch Jaws in the pool, 50th anniversary. Like it went from being a small thing to a very big thing, like in a day.
Yeah. So all right, we're talking about some do nots. We've talked about the branch. Paint another scenario, because I know there's more do nots that we had talked through in the past. I've got a really good friend who's always wanted to invest with me. He's a really high income earner with what I would call corporate America. He's been in the military for a long time, basically runs a VA, just great dude. We had talked back, and I'm going to butcher this, but just to set the context, we had talked about if he could invest with me in something and be a member of it, and receive any kind of benefit at all of being a member. Like you said earlier, let's use another example, that 5 guys could get together and buy a hunting property from their IRA. Is this true that they could use the property if they... Okay, so not even if you can't be a minority member or any of that. You can't get fancy with any of that.
Correct. So there's no personal use. There's no personal gain. So, land example would be like, hey, 5 of us buddies IRAs. If your IRA's in that deal, you're not hunting on that land. Can you hunt on the neighboring piece of land? Sure. Can you hunt on that land? No. Same thing with like an Airbnb. That's a better example. I get this one all the time.
Yep.
Well, we're going to do an Airbnb, but my family only wants to use it 2 weeks out of the year. How are they going to know? I don't know, but they can pretty much see and track everything you're doing these days. So I wouldn't do that.
So, all right, let's get even deeper. No
personal use.
Let's get even deeper. I'm going to invest my self-directed IRA funds with Amanda. She has an Airbnb. It's in her LLC, Amanda's Airbnb, Cleveland LLC. Can I go stay at it? Can I pay and stay at it?
No. If you get audited, yeah, like it's too close. And it's just like, don't mess with it. Now, if I had a sister property, that is very like that one, could you go stay at that one? Sure. Well, it's the same thing with like sweat equity. I get this one a lot. If you're doing a rental or flip, can I go in there? I'm handy. Can I go in there and do all of the construction? No, you cannot. Can you project manage? Yes, you can. You can tell Carl the contractor and Paul the plumber what to do and when to do it by.
Okay.
Like, that's just managing the project. That's the same thing with like sourcing the deal and orchestrating the structure. That's self-directing, not self-dealing. But the number one no-no always comes into that self-dealing rule. And I'm doing events that I love y'all, but my what-ifers, my creative what-ifers.
Yeah.
Tyler.
Yeah.
We
make the world go round.
Comes back to self-dealing.
Well, and here's why I like this, honestly. Here's why I like this, because I'll self-plug here unashamedly what that sounds like, because I didn't know this prior to this podcast. It sounds like you're much better off to find a qualified operator who can help invest your money somewhere than to figure out how to try and do it yourself and skate by the rules. Find a qualified, Amanda and I, we would use this term operator, like especially multifamily and commercial real estate. Usually you're partnering with an operator, somebody who's going to operate the investment, operate the asset, improve the asset, run it, manage it, etc. Cause it to make an ROI. So call me an operator in land. I'm the one sourcing, bringing the deal, vetting the deal, negotiating the deal, closing the deal, improving the deal, repositioning the deal, selling the deal, making the deal make a return. So call me the operator in this line of thinking. It sounds like that is a much simpler, safer, cleaner process than, hey, I love this. I've always wanted to buy this lake house at Lake Norman, for my family, and you're telling me I can use my IRA money. You're saying, no, I'm not. I'm not telling you that. You can't. Tyler can buy it. I can buy it. I don't want your deal, by the way. I'm just saying you need to have, what would they, in real estate, you have this term arm's length sale.
That's what I was just going to say. In our world, it's an arm's length transaction, but what you're getting to, and for those of you that are listening, okay, if you're that avatar, right, you're trying to diversify. Maybe you're a medical practice or some type of, profession, right? That is your time, that's your knowledge base, that's your world. You're looking to diversify. You diversify with experts, right? But you're also not trying to pick up a job. Right. You want to be passive, right? And I think that's the key that is being missed in your explanation. The who, not the how. Like we're the platform, we're the ones that can unlock the funds, et cetera. Yep. We're the ones the IRS says you have to have. Okay. Yep. Tyler is the who, right? That will, with his expertise, et cetera, do all of the work for you. And at the end of the day, it's your decision if you want to do it or not. Right. Like that's exactly how it works. But when you can get with those that are the professionals, the experts that do the legwork for you, 9 times out of 10, that's the diversification match that folks are looking for. I always love when I have someone that's like, I want to diversify and I want mailbox money and passivity and I want to have more time with my kids and
So I'm going to buy a duplex and self-renovate
I'm going to buy a duplex or I'm going to go flip like 5 houses a year. Like, no, man, that's a job. Like, you have to measure the time it takes that you're dedicating. And I don't think, I know financial professionals and even some, your gurus out there, they don't put that in the equation. Yep. I mean, go look back at that bunch and tell me how many are divorced.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, you can measure it somewhere else in their life.
Yes, exactly. Like your values totally get tipped. So that's where these vehicles, really, and I ask all of those questions like family wise and how do you want to spend your time? Because they may come thinking like, oh, I want to be a friendly flipper. And I watch too much HGTV. That's not, that's not your jam,
Yeah, that's not passive. That's very active.
It's not passive, so there's different degrees. And as you get closer to retirement, like, you don't want to be managing, tenants, toilets, and trash. Like, that takes its toll too. Even when you have, different professionals in the mix, you're still managing it. We're here, literally, I'll set the expectation, we have our exploratory call. You say, hey, I want to do this. Statement ID, DocuSign pre-filled out. 2 weeks later, your funds are there. And then it's just paperwork to do the deal. And then you're just going to hurry up and wait while Tyler does his thing on his time and generates money for you. That's the passivity versus, hey, I'm going to do this, self-directed, but then I'm going to do all of the work and steps, to make it happen. And it's just being realistic from yourself. And yes, I'm a passive custodian. I don't directly endorse blah, 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 blah. But I want to make sure that you guys are making sure you're taking that into the equation, right? Like that's just one thing. That's one thing that's not on the spreadsheet. That's not on the deal analyzer, And
is your time value of money.
Yes. That is exactly it. I'll throw something else out there. I think I forgot to mention. So for those of you that are stuck in that 401k or you have an old 401k and we turn around and we make it a self-directed 401k, do you know what you can do with a self-directed 401k IRA will not let you do?
I'm here. I'm sitting down.
You can borrow against it 50% or $50,000, whichever's first. And then you pay yourself back over 5 years. It's at prime plus 2, but it's like forced savings. So what I just said, you guys, if you're going to tell me I want to have my cake and eat it too, Amanda, your retirement crap's great, but I need some money in my pocket today, and this is my nest egg, let's roll it over into a 401k. You can turn around and by the time so within a 2 to 3 week period, you can have an additional $50,000 in a checking account. So then you can go invest that money. So I'm putting my Kiyosaki
actively. You can be the operator if you're just saying, I hear you, but I still want to go be an operator and sow those oats.
You can invest it actively. You can invest it passively. It's like arbitrage. It's how people use like their home equity lines of credit to go make the money. And then it's the cheapest form of capital, you guys, because you're paying yourself back with interest over a 5-year period. The principal and the interest go back to your 401k.
And that's why you're calling it forced savings, because
forced savings.
It's going to your back to your pocket. Be your own bank. You've heard these.
Yes, that's exactly it. Be your own bank. Like you hear that in the life insurance world all the time. It gets skipped over in our world, but that's a huge one. And then can you invest the rest of the funds? Yes. So like in your world, Tyler, you're always keeping a list of the cheapest capital to the most expensive.
For sure. So if you're on here listening and you want to invest at 3%, come on. Put you top of the list. Top of the list. I'll keep you busy.
But that's part of that consultative approach is like highlighting those things of what you can do. So you might have someone that's like, oh yeah, I thought I was going to invest this with you, but now I figured out I got 3 more buckets I can play with. Like, God damn, let's go.
Yep.
It's exciting.
Yep.
It's fun. I know most real estate, not real estate, but like retirement investment accounts, they get like that boring, mundane, that's why, I hope this is coming across. I love what I do. It's a puzzle. Every client, every family, every business I've worked with over the years, it's always a puzzle and it's a different mix. You have 3 kids. I have 2. Like our mixes are going to be a little bit different. I've got a 13-year-old sasshole. You're almost there. And, an 8-year-old little squirrel jock.
I like that term. I'm almost there.
Yes, it's coming, my friend.
I know. This is why I have to do these IRAs. Listen, I want to keep. Yes. I want one more thing that we got to keep going because I could go for hours and hours with Amanda. I hope you guys are seeing how much of a springboard this is. So we've talked about like a little bit about what's completely off limits. Basically, think of the branch. Essentially, to kind of close that loop, it sounds like. Direct of the branch off limits, sidebar even of the branch, which is amazing to me that there is latitude for movement there. And then, of course, if it doesn't have to do with your tree at all, fair game, rock and roll, life is good. We could go into what happens if someone breaks the rules, but let's just say really bad stuff. So let's say someone has this old 401k or IRA or whatever it is, and how they move it. What does that process actually look like? Let's say you've done an onboard call with someone, they choose to learn more from you, and then you guys find out there's funds that are usable. What does that look like?
Yeah, so that process is like decide, deposit, direct. 3 Ds. We're going to keep it super simple.
Nice.
So, you like that?
Decide, deposit, direct. Okay.
That's it. Yeah. So literally after that first call, your homework is to complete the DocuSign that was sent. It's an application, a copy of your most recent statement, all pages, and your driver's license. Once my team gets all that, I have a whole team in Albuquerque that's going to work for you to move the funds from A to B. That whole process takes 2 weeks or less. In the interim, okay, if you know what investment you're looking to do, so I'm going to use you as an example, Tyler, like at the point, and we did this with Will.
Yep.
I knew he was going to invest. He knew he was going to do this deal with Tyler. So once that account was open and my team's working back here, we went ahead and streamlined the communication. Here's the titling that you'll need for his PPM. So for his notes, all of that, okay, the supporting documents. All right. Because
PPM is private placement memorandum. Cool term for what are we doing with the money? Where are we placing it? This is a structure document for what are we doing with said funds. PPM.
Yeah. It's the investment docs, guys.
Yep.
That's all.
It's all the red tape, all the boring stuff, mortgage info, yada, yada.
Exactly. So the important thing for us, and our team walks you through this, specialized trust company custodian, FBO, William Hancock IRA. All right. That's how his had to read on there. Right. So we give you that ahead of time so you can prep your paperwork on the back end. So by the time the funds are here, you've emailed that to us. We reviewed it. We double checked the titling, and we completed what I call the boss you around form. It's our direction to invest. That's how a client tells us, hey, specialized trust, I'm doing this deal for $200K. Send the money here. Sign and date. So we've already done all of that. So when the funds got here within 2 weeks, it was just boom, boom, boom.
This is the biggest point of all that I knew on my side of things was so powerful was Amanda's team. If you're working with them and they become the custodian, cool word for they're helping you, they are making sure, and this has been so deeply ingrained in me, they're making sure that this investment relationship and the product that you're choosing to invest in or whatever it is does not become a taxable event for you. Because she's making sure the paperwork is right. Because if it's wrong, Amanda, if it is wrong, and because let's go deeper. Oh, well, so-and-so does his own closings and he doesn't use a title company and so does this. No, you're treading on thin ice because Amanda's team had to make sure everything was read and documented correctly. So there was not a taxable event created for the IRA. That's why you're having them in the middle. That's why you're having them in the middle is to protect you from creating a taxable event by just messing. Like if it had said, and we're using William Hancock, if it had said William Hancock as the trustee or the mortgagee or the whatever on these documents, that could have created a huge problem.
Yeah. That would have been taxable. Yep.
So they're making sure that didn't happen.
Exactly. And I'm going to tell you guys, even, it's always the trust but verify. I literally just got done working on an account and I looked at their investment. They were with another custodian, so a direct competitor. I pulled it on over and I'm looking. The W-9 form, which is what you fill out for an operator to say, hey, who am I paying? they filled it out in their social security number. So it would have been taxable had we not intervened when we did. We caught it. So then we just had to get a new W-9 with, the trust company EIN so that when it's reported, it goes tax exempt. But those little pieces, and I know that sounds boring, guys, but that's why you have a custodian. There's some DIY companies out there that would say, a couple $100, blah, 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 blah. What we do is not expensive. It's at 1 to 1.5%.
And I was going to ask you to go into that because I was so blown away with this. You guys might be asking, how does Amanda make money? She's painting the financial advisor as this big bad shark, but she's one. Well, nah. Go into the meat. How do you make money, Amanda?
Yeah. So with the custodian, we don't sell investments on the back end. So there's no back end. It's just front end. So your account will have a fee. Okay. It has a set up annual transaction, and we do all inclusive. So for a $300,000 IRA, it's less than 0.5% total with all of those three things added up. So it's not expensive to do.
And can that money come out of the IRA? Like if they're moving money, can you be paid out of it?
Yeah. So the 225 setup, that's the only part we do on a card. Everything else can come from the funds. If you have a small business plan, like you do a 401k or a SEP IRA, they changed the tax code back in 23. You get a tax credit for it. So it's a wash. So it's just like the other thing too, because those that get so stepping over, dollars to pick up pennies, the DIY, these are retirement accounts. This is a long-term relationship. This is highly regulated. You don't want a DIY company to where you're calling into a call center, you're never going to talk to a living human being, and when you do, you realize they probably got hired from a temp agency. That is not what you want, okay? Right. It's representing yourself in the court of law or saying, hey, I own 3 businesses, but I do TurboTax.
Right.
Those are things you don't do. Ill-advised. We are not expensive, but we go right in the middle, to make sure we can have certified, trained staff, to help you through these things and make sure and to educate you from not reading from a script. I'm just going to call it like it is.
Well, and I, the easy way that I heard from all of this that Amanda has talked through in our relationships is they make money in volume. They're not making money if you come over and Amanda's going to make 50% on renewals of whatever you bring over. That is not a thing. This is not life insurance. This is not how, this is not set up that way. So they're making a reasonable amount of money based on the amount of money they are being a custodian for you. And I would argue, obviously, the more money you give to some person or some entity to be the custodian of, it's more responsibility and pressure for said custodian. So I think it's a very, very, very fair, negligible fee structure based on what they're helping you accomplish. I mean, let's talk about the tax-free growth that you're going to have if you have an investment that makes you $20,000 and what it would cost you to come over and do this. So it's not even really a talking point. So
no, I appreciate that. And we do a family plan too. When I'm talking this generational stuff, you have a fixed flat family plan. We have unlimited household accounts. So that's another thing that always got me wrong when I would hear this on the road or at different things, you can do all this fancy stuff for all of your kids and generation, but it's going to cost you $50,000 to set it all up.
Right. So let's put icing on that cake. So you can't afford to start it. So let's just not even talk about it. You can't, you know what I mean? It's so exciting. Right? It's going to be amazing, but you just can't afford to start it. So you'll never get there. Yeah. That's what makes it hard. I got 3 kids. Well, tell me all the fee structure now because I have more things and I have more people. Tell me that. Well, now it's not affordable. So therefore, and the listener likely is in the same boat, they don't start it. They don't start it because they can't afford it in the first place because they got too much fee structure or whatever it is to ever get started.
Yeah.
All right. So this has been, we obviously could go for 2 more hours. How does someone get a hold of you, Amanda? And what we didn't get to talk about, and much more than what she just alluded to, if you set up a call with Amanda, ask her to tell you about some of this legacy building strategy and some of the things that I know she has helped people do, like she has said, with their families and creating that long-term wealth picture. Because it's a lot if you think about, if you've listened long enough and you're thinking, well, gosh, my financial planner, my financial advisor, we've inadvertently shed them in a bad light, and some of them are really great. They're really great at what they do. They can be really great, especially long term. They can be really great. So it would feel like a lot to have some like, well, I'm going to move stuff, but is Amanda any good at this long-term window, or no, she's just going to help us invest in a deal or help, structure this deal so we're not taxed, but that's not long-term. Amanda, tickle their ears for 30 seconds. You have some long-term thoughts as well that you help people with?
Absolutely. Like our family plan, and a lot of this is not, you start with one, but then you grow. Like, it's like, ooh, you can only have one piece of candy and you're looking at the whole jar on the table. You're going to put your hand in the darn jar and eat more candy. Yep. It's the same thing here, so we go over, not just what one account, but 2, 3, and then how that deal structure could look. Here's options A, B, and C. You love option A, fantastic. You can straight tell me B and C are dumb. I don't like those. And that's fine. Like, there's no awkward silence, and then there you go. Like we do, even for our family stuff, so it's all about giving, right? We do live monthly calls, They do,
and I've already heard of people joining these to hear ideas that Amanda's just helping teach what you can do.
It's, the more you know, the more you grow. And I know I sound like the Reading Rainbow, I think that was, but I mean, that's exactly it in this space, so that's the approach that we take. Because it is retirement, and markets pivot, opportunities pivot, so we always have to make sure we're staying on top of it. Tax laws pivot, we're not CPAs, but, you need to know the big, beautiful bill just passed. What does that mean?
I got to bring you back on for that. I keep hearing some stuff. So we might have to, we might do an open panel here just to hear from all people that I have been.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, truly, I had a realtor tell me just yesterday, dude, like everybody's waiting until January now to do this, this, and this. Like, he was like, I went to my attorney to build a trust, and he said, don't even do it. Don't even do it. Wait until January to build a trust because of the bill. So I don't even know. I don't know yet. I've been buying deals, so just sorry, sue me. I don't know everything there's to know about the big, beautiful bill. But Amanda, I want to do 2 questions as a final kind of a wrap up. If someone's intrigued by all this, obviously they've listened this long, they're getting it. What's kind of the first steps they should take, and is that tailored into the same question of how do people get a hold of you? What does that look like?
Yeah, raise your hand, reach out, you guys. That's the first step, is your take action. So you can email me, aholbrook@irastc.com, 505-514-0587. I'm going to put a link to my calendar in the show notes here. Perfect. So just hop right on, and even if you feel like, hey, I'm not prepared, I don't know exactly what action, or questions to ask, like you feel like you're coming in and prepared, don't. I know what questions to ask to figure out the information that you need to know and what you need to look at. So that's your call to action. You can do some, Googling, YouTubing, specializedtrustcompany.com is our website. I have more resources I'm happy to tailor for you. I think I did this for you. I'm a fan of Touch It Once. After we talk, I'm going to give you like snapshots and videos, all this stuff that's tailored for like your specific scenario. So you're like, oh my gosh. So when you have to sit down with your spouse, it's like, hey, have some popcorn, have a glass of wine. And it's not like that, oh my God, conversation that, because when you finally have that alone time, you don't always want to talk finance.
You can just blame Amanda. You just sit the iPad down and say, listen, she's crazy enough that it sounds legit. Okay. So, blame Amanda. But I mean, honestly, I can't say enough. I haven't come from corporate world, so I haven't felt the depth of the frustration that I know people feel. But I have been the receiving end of someone saying, "Hey, I have done this path this way really long time, and I've amassed some money. I've been diligent, in what I've done. I've been steadfast. I've kept my head down, and I've just worked, and I have some money. But like, I really like the idea of being able to do something else with it, where when I go to bed, and I'm just painting a picture for kind of some of the stuff I do, is that our people are getting a standard rate of return on their money, or they're gonna, if you want to be more, hey, be secured in the operating agreement on a deal, like we can talk through all the different deal structure, but typically our people go to bed making the same rate of return. They wake up making the same rate of return. They don't need to check their phone in the morning to see what stock plummeted. Yep. They don't need to experience the volatility of the ride, the roller coaster. They don't do it anymore. They get sick of it. And so that's where I see the benefit of this is You've been trained to believe that this box over here, like you said, this sandbox is the way. It is the only way. And I'm not arguing that it's not a way. Okay. I'm not arguing that it's not a way. I'm just arguing that it's not the only way. I experience a lot of conversation with people that are just tired of the rat race of, well, in a 5-year window, my stock went up 40%. And then at one point it was down 40%. And now it's up. And guess what? Your average has been 7%. Well, I think we can do it differently. We can do it a different way. It's much safer, much more boring. And, that's not even my own self-plug. That's a plug for how to think differently about how you invest your money and grow your wealth. So this has been awesome. Go get a hold of Amanda. Yeah, I don't even know how much I owe her. This is going to be insane. I don't know what this bill will be. But for real talk, this is to me, the rising tide raises all ships. If I bring clients to Amanda and it helps you guys and you listen to this podcast and it helps you go invest your funds, you know that one of my goals in this podcast is to help people grow those first steps into buying land or help build their belief in how to do it or help bolster their strength and knowledge of what are some of the first steps to take. So if we've tickled your ears enough, I would argue Amanda is one of the great first steps to take if you've got money that you didn't think could be in your tool belt. You didn't think you could use. You didn't think it was a tool you had. So that is all we're going to talk through today. I expect listeners to come back and say, I talked to Amanda and I have 70 million that I would like you to put to work. That is a win.
Get it to work right now.
and tomorrow. So to that, I would say, I got you, and I'll go figure it out. So,
right, same here.
Right. Amanda and I would both be like, so what? All right, let's figure it out. But anyway, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for being on here. Go get a hold of Amanda, and we'll see and listen and hear from you guys on next week's episode of Legacy Through Land. Peace.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. If you're finding value in this content, we'd love to hear from you. It'd mean a lot if you could share with us how this podcast is helping you on your journey and let us know of any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Be sure to connect with us on all social platforms at Legacy Acres Land Co. and subscribe to stay updated on when new episodes drop. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast, and we'll see you next week.